Hello everyone, I'm Miss and with me is BBP and welcome to the second match of Tuskers versus Templis CALSF. So tell me about the Tuskers team.
Oh, the Tuskers are bringing another kiting comp, which is an interesting choice. They have 3 Navy Drakes, which are all heavy missile fit, a Cerberus, an Orthrus, 3 Jackdaws, a Vigil, and they're actually bringing a Scimitar out, which we have not seen very many of this entire tournament, actually.
Yeah, in the meantime, the Templis CALSF team has brought what we usually call like Kingslayer setup. It's a battleship heavy setup with long range weapifiers that can snipe out so you can use the weapifiers to whip down enemy lodges and then snipe them out. And this is not looking good for Tuskers, I think.
No, I'm a little worried about it, especially with paladins that have such crazy high range. So, we're gonna see what they can do. I'm not sure if Tuskers has enough DPS to really break through anything. And there's actually the Jackdaw of Dana is almost dead already, just right off the bat, getting completely destroyed by those paladins. Though maybe he's catching. We'll see.
Yeah, the Jackdaw is taking heavy damage, but so is the Hugin of the Dale Struvant. If the Hugin goes down, this is going to be a huge loss for the Templis team since they'll be losing so much control. And it went down. This is critical for Tuskers. They still have the Jackdaw alive.
Yeah, really smart target calling on the Tuskers side. Like taking the Hugin down means that those paladins are so much weaker, just because now that they're still shooting battleship guns versus relatively small ships, and I don't see a ton of remote tracking being done onto the paladins, which we saw earlier. It does look like they're actually remote tracking boosting each other, which is kind of cool. The Orthrus actually completely gets alpha through shields, but then is immediately back up. We're seeing the power of those scimitar reps, where the Confessor of Carson is almost dead already from the Templis CALSF side.
Yeah, I think the Orthrus on the Tusker team is XL fit, so they could volley it through, but it managed to get reps and they managed to cycle it ASP, so it gets a good value of it. But if I'm looking at the field, I could see that the Tuskers had a lot of ECM drones where the Hugin died. So these drones might have been able to jam out the Hugin so they could get out with all their ships.
And the Templis CALSF paladins are actually not shooting right now. They are incredibly tracking disrupted. So I think they're trying to get into a good position to fire. Though they did just take a volley and completely wipe a Jackdaw out. So they were, we're seeing some interesting stuff. They're moving just into position and then kind of holding and firing as opposed to just pumping DPS the entire time. Tuskers is actually going after the Magus, which is a great call, taking all of the links off grid if they're able to bring him down.
Yeah, getting rid of the links will make every ship on the Templis team weaker and easier to break. But the Templis Magus is catching webs, and the second Jackdaw just went down.
Yeah, there's the Tuskers are having a little bit of trouble applying. They're having to move these paladins into position before shooting, which kind of, the whole point of them is they have such long range that they normally could just sit there and shoot. But the third Jackdaw goes down. The paladins are kind of, slowly pushing in and then waiting until they get into range and alphaing through, which, it's a really smart call on the Templis team, since the scimitar reps are so powerful that if they don't just punch straight through and kill them, they might be able to take him back up. And it looks like Templis is going after the Navy Drake of Silgis now, who, that guy, he's kind of getting punched through reps too. Scimitars are really powerful, but I'm not sure if it's strong enough.
Yeah, the thing about these paladins is that with Scorch, they have such a long range, and out at long range, they won't struggle with the tracking. So this is what allowed them to volley off these Jackdaws that otherwise the destroyer size hull, so battleships usually would have difficulty to hit them. But they still managed to almost volley these Jackdaws, even without their long-range weapifiers.
I also think that the Jackdaws all had tracking disruptors, and because we're not seeing them anymore, so Templis correctly identified that and took them out first, because now the paladins are no longer tracking disrupted, and they're kind of hitting that point where they can just have a field day and hit anything on grid with their Scorch. So, the Drake of Silgis, he's kind of pulled a little bit out of range, and it looks like he might be saving, but the Orthrus gets alpha through shields and into half armor and into structure.
Yeah, this is the reason why you want to ban the paladins when you're fielding shield setups, because these take 2 lasers can just tear through your shield tank, exploiting the weak EM resist you have.
Yeah, I'm really not sure what Tuskers are doing right now. There's actually 0 DPS coming out of them. I'm wondering if they're just getting all their rapids reloaded and just kind of moving into perfect position, or I don't think they've given up, but they aren't putting any damage out at all. They're just kind of slowly getting whittled down by 3 paladins.
And we see like a lot of rep bots being around on the Templis team, and these have been vital in allowing them to tank these Tuskers team. And that's one weakness with the kiting setups like this. You don't really have anything strong to deal with these repair bots, so you have to shoot them with your missiles. That may be what they're doing now, or maybe they're just hitting reload.
They just alpha to vigil, actually, so maybe they were kind of preparing for that. I mean, the Drake. So the Navy Drakes are actually shooting repair bots. You're right on that one. I think that they're saving the rapid lights to try and do something like kill the vigils with, but the Navy Drakes don't have to worry about that as much because their reloads are a lot shorter. But again, like the Cerberus is getting blasted through now. The Navy Drake is still taking damage. I don't know. It's really not looking that good for Tuskers right now. The Scimitar is doing such good work keeping everyone alive, but there's just, unless Tuskers' plan is to get rid of all the repair bots and then start doing damage, I'm not really sure what's going on here for them.
Yeah, Tuskers have 3 ships that are already in low shield, and that Cerberus is bleeding more and more structure. This is looking really difficult for Tuskers, and the Scimitar, as you say, is doing such a stellar job trying to keep them all alive when they're taking this bombardment of laser from the Paladins. And as you're saying that the Cerberus did go down, this is going to make it even more difficult for Tuskers to kill anything.
Yeah, and it looks like the Paladins are now swapping over to do some damage to the Orthrus. Again, it's funny because the shields go up to full and then it gets punched down by 50-70% and then it goes back up to full. So honestly, at this point I think they could just sit on the Orthrus, and once that XLASB is down, that'll be it. Though they're putting a little bit of damage into Mira's Navy Drake as well. It's kind of slow and painful. There's nothing that Tusker seems to be able to do. They're not able to apply any damage to any of these kind of smaller armor ships, and I guess they've made the decision that they don't think they can break through the Paladins.
Yeah, the Paladins are barely touched, and they are really strong ships with local repairs, plus all the repair bots and the Deacons, so going for them would be such a bad choice. So this has actually been a really hard match for the Tuskers. Like, you had one obvious choice to primary, which was the Hugin, and they did get the Hugin down. But aside from that, they either had the choice of shooting battleships that are super tanky, or small frigates and destroyers that actually have a strong resist as well. So they've been hard for them to actually pick a good target there.
Yeah, I don't know if this is that they just got completely outplayed here or if they got outcomped. Silgus is finally dropping down. They're not able to keep him up anymore, even with the Scimitar reps and the rep drones on him. And, none of these Confessors has dropped below 50%. And that's probably the easiest target they can even shoot at on this entire grid. And it's just kind of a slow, painful death of a kiting team here. Tuskers, their kiting teams carried them all the way to this final weekend, but Templis seems to have their number.
Yeah, I don't see Tuskers going to win this one, and this means that Tuskers is going to drop down to the lower bracket, while the Templis team is going to move on to the grand final. And they managed to do that without using their wildcard, which is a huge power move to actually do. Like, you have a wildcard, you could have used it, and if you reach the grand finals, you would have it reset. But they went all the way without feeling it at all.
Yeah, it's definitely a it's definitely a flex. I guess Templis, they had a feeling, maybe they've been watching the matches and they saw, oh, Tuskers is not actually that scary. Obviously they did make it all the way this far, but they did so by bringing a kiting setup. And I was kind of sitting here thinking like, oh, maybe they just don't want to show another setup until they make it to the end. But maybe that's all they actually had. And Templis just had their number from the beginning. They knew what to do. They brought a perfect counter to it. They didn't even bother shooting the Scimitar, which I was, when you said, oh yeah, Kingslayer 3 Paladins, I was thinking, oh yeah, they're just going to blast that Scimitar, but they didn't even need to. They were just able to punch through Navy Drakes. They were able to destroy a Cerberus. Like, these aren't untanky ships. The Jackdaws, yeah, okay, those are pretty easy to kill, but the other ones aren't. And they just ignored it. They're like, all right, they didn't even pressure the Scimitar at all.
Yeah, it just shows us the raw power of the paladin can just tear apart the shield ships, even while having a scimitar trying to keep them alive. This is just a strong showing of the Templates team.
Yeah, really good target calling from them as well. I mean, they correctly identified that those jackdaws were tracking disrupting them and just took them all out first. And then once that was done, that was it. The scimitar is looking like he's trying to get a boundary record. He did just activate an MJD, and he is going off into the middle of nowhere. We'll see how far he gets here. It's the most exciting part of all of this, and he only makes it a pitiful 188 kilometers. So not too impressed by that one, but that's okay. Good try. Vigil is also doing it.
Yeah, he's trying, and he's still within the arena. He just jumped. He failed.
He didn't even make it. Oh, all right. Maybe he's gonna try again. Yeah, their match is over. It was a extremely clean showing from Templis CALSF, 97-14, and we will not be going to a third one because that puts Tuskers into the lower bracket.